Yo, welcome back to another Canon Cloak and Dagger recap, man. That episode was so good. I gotta start off there. It was so good. It blew my mind. I just got done watching it. It blows my mind how they completely pulled a 180 from the rest of the season. Now, for me personally, of course, these are all my opinions. If you've been liking it so far, it's been good for you, cool. But for me, and if you listen to the reviews, you know it's been real mediocre. And so for them to flip the way they did in every aspect and put out such a great episode, my mind was blown. Episode 7, Lotus Eater, we get Ivan Hess, who's the father to the other scientist that we just met. And he's the one that worked with Tandy's dad on the rig or whatever. He's catatonic. He survived the explosion, but he's catatonic. So last episode, we see that she needs Tyrone to help go inside his mind. Tyrone and Tandy go in, and it's set up to where he's been reliving this moment over and over again. It's about roughly 2 minutes, I think, where that the moment that we see kind of in the beginning where the rig starts going haywire and then explodes. So we've seen this before, especially in TV shows. You've seen the replay moment, the episode where you have to replay the moment till you do something right. And I would say the difference with this is at least me, I haven't seen one where it was done about guilt. Like usually it's some type of person or contraption that sticks you in that moment. But this is somebody trapped in their own mind, basically by their own body. Their body trapped you in that state because you felt so guilty or it was such a horrific scene that you were stuck there. And the only way to get out of your mind was for you to fix it. So this was very Inception-like. At first it almost felt a little Alice in the Wonderland type, them going down the rabbit hole. And the way he was talking at first, but then you realize it's because he been in there so long that he lost his mind. So it's very heavy leaning towards Inception. And I'm a sucker for Inception. So they already wrote me in with that. Inception is one of my favorite movies ever. So, but on top of that, I think that alone would have just been a cool episode. You gotta go. We need both powers to get inside this guy's mind. And, he's reliving the same moment. We gotta help him get out. That would have been just good enough. But they add on so many layers when you talk about Tandy and her dad being on the phone. And to the point where she wants to stay because it's her dad and she wants to be close to him. And at first it's just like, okay, we kind of get how that is and quickly realize like, no, this isn't the way. But this episode doesn't do that. They take their time where what is probably less than a minute in the real world when Tyrone leaves the mine, it's been over 200 times that she's been sitting through this explosion. So that part kind of gives you the ability to say that she's already fell deep into it. She doesn't completely forget everything, but she's starting to forget parts. But she remembers enough to when Tyrone's like, dude, what are you doing? Let's go. This is crazy. She's like, is it crazy? Because in the real world, I didn't have a great life and I didn't have my dad. And here I have my dad. I like, it's kind of like Bizarro Superman. That's how it feels like the way they talk. She's like, here I got my stuffs. I got my cards. I got my hat to throw it into. I got my monsters. And I got my dad. I was like, great line. Like their minds are so simplified, by the mental and psychological fatigue, but it's simplified to a point where they're like, I don't need all those things. This is all I need. These are the things I have. We've seen this before, but like I said, added on layer was so good because her argument was convincing where it was like, is it better for me to just stay here where I could at least be with my dad? And so it's hard to argue against her, but then you get the dagger versus cloak. Like she's got these daggers and it's kind of hard to use them against somebody that could just disappear. And so that was kind of a good foil for each other, just like the hope and fear and all that good stuff. So the duality continues with this episode. And then I even liked, even though they didn't go this route, I liked how Tyrone decided to do it himself, and he was able to, but for the most part, I'm like, wow, he's not that effective without her. Like, trying to go out and disappear or teleport and fight people, he can't really, because he's not a fighter and he doesn't have a weapon. Teleportation is not a weapon, at least not in the way that he knows how to use it yet. And so he's just really teleporting around and pushing people, which I thought was a weird choice. Like, the action still isn't great. I like that they advanced her ability with her power where she could throw the daggers. But other than that, the action isn't that great, because like Tyrone's not even that strong. He's a super skinny dude. So him teleporting and pushing people was just, it looked silly. But it illustrated how he needs her. She is a weapon. I mean, that's what she is. And that's kind of the character they built. And he is kind of the transportation. And not just that, but, you know, the getaway, all those different things. And so he's the access, let's say that. And so they work best together, Cloak and Dagger. That's how the characters are always meant. And this episode, more so than anyone, they finally show what these two are capable of together. And you have to admit that they haven't been together that much before because they're building their own solo stories. But this is what I hope. I don't think it's going to stay this way right now, but this is what I hope season 2 becomes. This is what I hope this show is working towards, where it's Cloak and Dagger. Because right now, it is so slow building Tandy here and Tyrone there. And that's fine. I get it. You got to do the groundwork, but these characters are together, and that's how they are. That's like some characters in comics, they just are in duo. And so this show, like, hey, let's look at a character study of both before we go into that. And I'm fine, because if season 2, 3, 4, if they get that many are all duo, then I'm fine if season 1 starts off solo. So I'm hoping this is a teaser what we get, because you see that what they can accomplish together, and you see that they need each other to accomplish it, whether it's their powers to read through people's minds, or whether it's just getting things done. So that level was also good. The thing with the Dr. Hess, first off, I just saw it. I think it's Tim Kang is his name. Great best actor I've seen on this show yet. I'm still not on with Tyrone. I think that actor just overdoes it a little. I think the Tandy character, the girl playing Tandy, she was great this episode. This was the best I've seen her act. But Tim Kang was amazing. He was amazing. Like, I thought he did an exceptional performance. He showed like sadness, happiness, confusion, like really quick in between each other. It was a difficult character to play in this circumstance. So I thought he made the world, like I said, it felt like Alice in Wonderland at first. It was like he was really weird about it, but you could understand why. But I like the whole layer with him, and just like this is everything. This is my stuff. I don't remember anything. This is all I know. And I thought he played that very well. And him kind of being the navigator of this world. I really like that. And that he was still kind of smart. Like she asked, oh, is this real? And he's like, that's a theological question and blah, blah. You know, he still had his wits about him for certain things, but I really liked his character. But yeah, it was a lot, I think, in this episode. There was a lot of, layers to it that just really impressed me. And even the line where they go, she was like, if this was your, your brother, if this was him, you really tell me that you wouldn't be standing here doing the same thing. And I like that Tyrone admitted, like, you're probably right. But then Tyrone hits her with another line, like, but it's been so long, I don't even remember what his voice sounds like. Even though it's been the same amount of time, because they lost him the same day. But still, he said, I don't remember what his voice sounds like. And I'm like, that's kind of deep too. And I don't know, it was all good to me. It was all well fleshed out, where they kind of hit the things. They didn't just leave us like, oh, that's goofy, they would have did that. No, they hit all those things to me personally. Now, the one thing I'll say, and this is nerdy nitpick stuff, but they kind of bend the rules. And they do answer it though. Because at first it's like, okay, this is a moment in Hess's life that they're stuck in the loop. And in that moment, he talks to her dad. So, okay, nice way to rope in Tandy. Cool. She talks to him and he's like, hey, Pumpkin. He talks to her. And that's why she wants to stay. But as they say later, if this is just a moment in Hess's memory, how would that version of her dad be able to interact with her? It makes no sense, because that's more time travel. That's like saying we're back in that moment in time and I'm talking to the real person, but it's not. It's just something within someone's mind. That's Inception. It's only that version of what the person remembers. And so they do come around and touch on it when Tyrone is like, ask him a question that only he would know. And yes, they did answer it, but it didn't make sense. It still didn't make sense, because if it was just the version that Hess remembered and Hess didn't really know her, then that version of her dad wouldn't be able, like, he'll be able to tell you about his day or whatever, but he wouldn't be like, I don't understand. How's my daughter on the rig? Or, hey, Pumpkin, this, that, and the other. If the daughter was in the car at the time, you know what I mean? It doesn't play correctly, but at least they addressed it, I would say. So that was my only big negative. And I would say the end. The end was weird. Like, I was getting ready to turn it off and start recording it. Then they had the last little bit, Tyrone calling Tandy late at night. And not like, I mean, it's a TV show. They give telltale foreshadowing clues. The way Tyrone's looking at her after they save Hess, like, the romance is about to come. That's fine. And I like that it wasn't just, hey, you up? Let me come over. Like, I like that it was just them kind of being friends. But the whole tape recorder, random rap, that was weird. I'm sorry. That was kind of cheesy. It was a little cringeworthy, to be honest. And then the way she's just all sexy, she says, play it again. Like, okay, that's weird. It's my dead brother. So yeah, that turned me off a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was an amazing episode. I thought they really captured the essence of not just Cloak and Dagger as partners, but I thought they really did a good job of putting the character they built so far as Tandy and the character they built as far as Tyrone to a collision course where they interacted in a way you would expect them to interact. Now, every episode is not going to be as close knit as this one in one place, so they're going to have to interact with other characters more out in the world, do more things, and that's when I think it stretches the acting ability of some of them and it stretches the effects of the show. But I was glad we were able to get this. And even the cookie thing comes back, like I was complaining about in the last episode, and I don't mind that she was making cookies, but I like that they tied it into this next episode. But I would still say, like, the way the younger Hess just befriended Tandy all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, like, hey girl, come on up. Like, that was still weird. But I'm glad they tied the cookie thing, because that was nice. Usually you don't even see like kind of the previous episode setting up something to call back for the next episode. Like, usually it's like later down the line in the season. But yeah, anyway, thought they did a good job. And they did a good job of teasing us with whatever this energy. Apparently there was some zombie-like creatures. The workers turned to zombie-like creatures before they all died on the explosion. Of course, since they all died, nobody knows that. So now that's another question of what is this energy and what exactly it did. Now, it said it like pumps you full of fear or something like that. And that, I mean, it wouldn't explain Tyrone's powers, but it is part of his power. But then what about the hope? How does that factor into Tandy? So good questions to go ahead with. now that we got another link, and I'm glad it was just self-contained to inside Hess's mind for this episode. It worked really well. So I give this episode an A+, hands down. Give it an A+. Go to the comment section though. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, get the convo started. And if you heard it, it's official canon.